respected guests, dear participants, and dear friends, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm Xiaodong, come from CEC, China Environmental Certification Center. I'm very glad to host the webinar. Thanks to support from UMAP, Joon, GPP, and all speakers. Also thanks to the secretaries of Joon and GPP for their efforts on collaboration and make this meeting happen at this moment. I also hope take this opportunity for all participants and friends safe and health in the serious global pandemic. This year is unprecedented year, and the COVID-19 spread all over the world, interrupting our human activities, not only economically but also socially. A green, sustainable, and resilient recovery has eventually to be recognized as the best approach to make back better. The concept of green purchasing and the Ecolabel program was initiated in Agenda 21, adopted at the UN Conference on Environment and Development in 1992, as an effective approach not only to minimize the environmental impact, but also shift towards sustainable consumption and production. Green purchasing and Ecolabel have close relationship and mutual impact. Today, we are honored to invite experts from UNEP, Joon, IGPN, and GPP with sharing on updating progress and of Ecolabel and green public procurement, as well as good experience and solutions addressing challenges. Today, we will have 3 sessions in the webinar. First one is the opening speech, and then the international trends and perspectives and the experience and the challenges on Ecolabel and green purchasing. My Joon colleague, Mr. Kate Harris, and I will be the moderator of the webinar. I'm expecting the webinar and wish it a fruitful and great success. Firstly, please invite the chairman of Joon, Mr. Bjorn Erik Long, to give a welcome speech. Bjorn Erik, please.
Good morning from my side also. Good morning and good afternoon, good evening. It's a pleasure to have a global webinar arranged on this theme. This is only the second public webinar that we from GEN are administering, and hope for a big success for this. We are 35 members in GEN, and we all have the purpose of creating credible environmental information in the marketplace, both for business to consumers and business to business. And today the theme is the business to business information. One of the strongest supports for eco-labeling is when governments adopt strategies for green public procurement. These experiences will be presented today. And the coupling of green public procurement to eco-labeling is most obvious in Asian countries, and that's why we have this webinar also with more suitable time for the Asian time zones than for instance, the American or the early morning in Europe. But besides the green public procurement, all business-to-business activities can drive and support eco-labeling, and that will also be presented today. The role of Type 1 eco-labels, the life cycle-based multiple criteria and third-party verified eco-labels, is in business to business, like in business to consumers, the role to make the environmental information about products, being both services and goods, make that information credible and open for all stakeholders. With that in mind, I wish our webinar all well for the coming 3 hours. Thank you.
Thank you, Björn-Erik. As accepted effective tool, Ecolabel has played more and more significant role in promoting green purchasing in public and business. It's quite important to expand the impact and attract more attention from international business. I believe with the efforts of Jen and everyone today here, Ecolabel and green purchasing will have a better sustainable development in the future. Thank you. Next, it was arranged by have speech by IGPN Chairman, Mr. Chen Yanping, but unfortunately he is in this trip just now. So interested by him, I'm very honored to give a speech on behalf of IGPN. Firstly, thanks Jen for always attention to IGPN and the cooperation in the past years. As a means and tool of maximization, Ecolabel is a link between green production and consumption, which not only provides consumers with green products supply, but also force green transformation in production. More and more government departments and enterprises take Ecolabel products as the basis for green procurement. They are mutually reinforcing and should continue to work closely together for sustainable development. Last year, the seminar on Ecolabel and the green procurement held in Suzhou, China was very successful. At COVID-19, we couldn't organize the meeting face-to-face this year, but it won't influence our cooperation. Today, we hope to share IGPN progress with experts and continually discuss how synergy development between Ecolabel and green purchasing. Over the past year, with the support of IGPN Council, the advisory committee and all members, IGPN has continued to improve its system, expand membership, actively participate in UNEP One Planet SPP program to support SDG 12. Since August this year, IGPN has established a partnership with Global City Network to committed to drive a transition to sustainable consumption and production by implementation of sustainable and innovative procurement. Also, IGPN launched the initiative on knowledge sharing in late September, and all good cases on green purchasing from members will be collected and analyzed. The report is expected to finalize by next March. The support of all experts today will be highly appreciated, and if you have any good idea, good case, and best practice, please contact with our secretariat. CEC, as IGPN secretariat and Jen's full member, also a partner of UNEP One Planet SPP program as co-leader. And I myself serve as a member of the Gen board and SPP co-leader representative. Multiple roles make us multiple responsibilities. Based on CEC's experience the past over 10 years, the Ecolabel and the green purchasing are closely linked and mutually reinforcing, and their synergy development is also a very good way to promote sustainable consumption and production. We will, as always, promote good practice on eco-label and green procurement at all levels in China, including national, locally, industry, and enterprises. Meanwhile, on the support of IGPN, Joon, and UNEP One Planet Network, we will explore the best practice of combined eco-label and green purchasing to contribute to the SDG achievements. We also expect the joint seminar between Joon and IGPN on eco-label and green purchasing can be fixed to be held annually as a mechanism of cooperation to share, update, and discuss possible opportunities for further cooperation. Finally, I wish this seminar a complete success. Thank you. The next one, please welcome Ms. Ingrid Elmedal, the Senior Consultant Market and Procurement of Ecolabelling Denmark. She is an experienced consultant with a demonstrated history of working in the environmental service industry, skilled in sustainable development, corporate social responsibility, sustainability, and life cycle assessment. She will share a good practice in Nordic countries on how to bring green public and private procurement together. Green Procurement form, please, Ms. Ingrid Elmedal.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And thank you for participating. And in Denmark, it is good morning at this time. So first of all, and thank you for the introduction. As said, I'm a master specialized in environmental biology and communication, and I have a great passion for the environment and for biodiversity. I have worked as a consultant in Ecolabelling Denmark since 2008. And the last 6 years, I've been working in our sales and communication team and specialized in the consumer and professional buyers dialogue. For my agenda, I will first of all give you an introduction to the network and tell you about the best practice for the network in all Nordic countries. And it both cover public and private initiatives. Then I will lovely bring you some success stories from the network, and we have had great success with cleaning companies and furnitures as an example. And as Bjørn Erik said, then we also have some good inspiration and for initiatives for green public procurement in the government in Denmark, and I will bring you some information about that. And finally, it's just a statement that procurement will help for a more sustainable future. First of all, an introduction to the network in the Nordic countries. The idea to start a network was created, in fact, in Norway. And it was when a company, it was an insurance company, they wanted to be eco-label as they use the Nordic eco-label in the procurement policy. But as you know, you cannot be certified if there's no set of criteria for the product group. They therefore chose to recognize the effort and establish a network for responsible companies that professionally use the eco-labels in the procurement. So network in all Nordic countries, it is a network organized under the official Nordic eco-label, Nordic Swan eco-label. So as you can see on the map here, that it will be Denmark down here. I'm sitting right here now. And then you will have for Finland, Iceland, Norway, and Sweden as well. The network for sustainable procurement, well, the overall situation is that the network of companies, it is a network of companies working with green procurement, which often represent a major part of the company's environmental impact, their procurement. So we help members to find companies with eco-label products and services, and boosting demand for eco-label products and services within the members' indirect procurement activities. It will make it easier for the members to achieve their own environmental targets. But there will be a slight difference in the Nordic countries and the way that we handle the work with the network. Some network both contain public and private procurers. Some network only is for large companies, as it is in Denmark, and some have demand for reporting their procurement, and some work in close dialogue in tenders, and that will be for the one working also with the public procurers. But common to them all is that the network uses the purchasing power to create a sustainable society. And they are not alone. 70% of the Nordic population want to live more sustainable. I am in head of the Danish Sustainable Procurement Network, and therefore I will present headlines from the way that we work with the procurers in Denmark. And for the situation in Denmark, our members are committed to include the official eco-labels, and that will be the Nordic Swan eco-label and the European EU eco-label. They must include them in the procurement policies. And annually, they report their eco-label indirect purchases within 10 different product areas. And you can see the 10 different product areas in the box on the right. So it will be hotel and conferences, it will be cleaning services, it will be canteens, it will be disposables for food, furniture, office machines, it will be office supplies, printed matter, textiles, and also laundry services. So common for all large companies, they all procure these kind of products and services. Then they ensure growth in the proportion of the eco-label purchases from year to year. So they make this annual report and we go in and analyze on this, and they grow each year in the proportion of eco-label purchases. And then also for the members, we have meetings. Normally, not this year, we haven't had any physical meetings due to the corona situation, but they participate in 3 annual meetings. The total reported procurement for the network last year, it was 16 million euros. And the greatest success stories that we have had with the network has been for cleaning services, canteens, and also for furnitures. To put a few more words on, for example, the cleaning service. Then when we started up with the network in 2012, there were only 3 licenses in Denmark, and now we have 16 approved suppliers of cleaning services, and it is including some of our country's largest cleaning companies. The network, they stood together on the demand, which pushed the market in a more sustainable direction. As you can see on the 2 pictures below, whenever a cleaning company, they have achieved the Nordic Swan eco-label, we go out with the diploma, and then we make sure to do some PR for the company, but still also in the same situation, it will be PR for the network, and it will bring inspiration to other private procurers to do the same. Another success story, and in fact it is with joint focus in the Nordic countries, it will be for the furnitures. So the supply of eco-label furniture is increasing sharply at the moment. So today we have more than 75 furniture companies supplying eco-label furniture to the Danish market. And this is an increase in 163% compared to the situation in 2016. But it is a joint Nordic focus that we have had on furnitures. So if we have made this furniture catalog, and this catalog is published in all Nordic countries. And so if you work as a procurer in a private or in a public company, and you would like to make a sustainable choice the next time that you buy furnitures, then you can get inspiration in the Nordic Ecolabelling large catalog of furniture that is certified with the Nordic Ecolabel and with the EU Ecolabel. So as you can see on the screen and the pictures here, we also bring some information about the benefit of buying Nordic Swan Ecolabel and EU Ecolabel furniture. And as you can see on the pictures, it will give you inspiration as a procurer, so you can go in and find that there are a large assortment. And it's not only for office furniture, it is also furniture for canteens, it is for daycare centers, and also for cities' playgrounds, could it be. And to help green procurers, that we have launched following Danish initiatives and with inspiration to find on our homepage. So we have a toolbox for professional procurers that is to make it easier for them to go in and use the eco-labels in their procurements. Then we have the Network for Sustainable Procurement, which I just have spoke about. And then we are promoting eco-labels to public and private procurers. And we do that through seminars, conferences, B2B newsletters. We also use LinkedIn and Twitter as communication channels. And then we offer an eco-label check of the call to tender plan. So if you have a municipality which is going out in tenders, we go in and check the tender plan, and then we advise them in which categories where they could be easy for them to find eco-labeled products. A great success story in Denmark is the story from the city of Copenhagen. It is the capital of Denmark. It all started with the new procurement law as a result of the 2014 EU Procurement Directive, where European authorities, they can ask specifically for eco-label products and services in their tenders, or they can ask for eco-label documentation. So in December 2016, a member of the Copenhagen Citizen Representation, they proposed, proposed that the municipality of Copenhagen should adopt a policy of eco-label procurement. So during 2017, an internal working group set their recommendation, and it got adopted in the Finance Committee and in the Citizen Representation. And during 2018 was the implementation of the recommendation, and late 2018 we already had our first market push, and the first annual report was sent to the Finance Committee. And you are, I could imagine that you are a little bit curious about hearing more about this policy. So the city of Copenhagen, they will buy products and services certified with the Nordic Swan Ecolabel or the EU Ecolabel within 26 selected categories with an annual expenditure of 40 million euros. The city of Copenhagen and Ecolabelling Denmark will, with assistance from the Danish national procurement body called SKI, they will engage in a market dialogue aiming to increase the supply of eco-label products within selected areas. And these market engagements, they effort targets 2 to 4 focus areas each year. We started up in 2018 with toys and office furniture. The reason that we have these market dialogue is for some of the categories within Nordic Swan Ecolabel and EU Ecolabel products, there are a huge assortment of products and services. But we also have some product areas where the assortment of eco-label products is very low. And even we have some categories, we have the criteria document, it is possible to certify, but there are no products. So they use this market dialogue to go in and put on focus on a criteria document, go out and make it visible that we will, as the city of Copenhagen, go out and ask for these kind of products, and they start up with an early market dialogue, and in that way they can make the producers ready to go in and deliver on the next tender. And so we have office furniture both with the sustainable procurement networks in the Nordics, but we had great success with having also the public procurement to ask for the furniture. The way that we have set up these categories and the product groups, as I just told you about, we have 60 product groups within the Nordic Swan Ecolabel and 24 within the EU Ecolabel. But a larger selection will benefit all the Danes, so that we try to take the category 4 to be category 3 and the category 3 to be 2 and so on. So in category 1 we have these 26 product groups where in this category you will find many products with the Nordic Swan Ecolabel and the EU Ecolabel, and they will set it as a minimum requirements. It could, for example, be baby diapers, cleaning products and products for personal care. In category 2, this category there are several products, but not many products. And they will set a minimum requirement or an award criteria in the tenders. And it could, for example, be office furnitures. We are not ready for category 1 yet with the office furnitures. And it could also be, for example, cotton clothing. So in that way, we have organized the criteria and the procurement areas in category 1, 2, 3, and 4. And it makes it easy, it is an easy system to go in and check, are the market good for eco-label products, or how should we work with it in the next tenders? Should it be an award criteria or a potential award criteria, or how should we work with it? So, and in this way, then the city of Copenhagen's decision, it extends far beyond the municipality boundaries, because when the city of Copenhagen, they started up with this, other municipalities in Denmark, they are looking at Copenhagen and they are also going in the same direction. And we hope also that it could inspire all other Nordic municipalities to go in the same direction. And speaking of the boundaries, and then recently, only 1 month ago it is, then the government, there were presented a new government strategy for green public procurement in Denmark. And of course, again, we wish this strategy to be implemented in other countries as well. And the strategy, it was launched in October 29th. It is just 2 weeks ago, and the strategy includes other activities like sustainable wood and electric cars, but it have chosen to focus on TCO and eco-labels because as we understood, that is the most relevant for the meeting today. So the Danish government, they have launched this strategy for green procurement, and by 2013, all government procurement must, where possible, be certified with the Nordic Swan Ecolabel or the EU Ecolabel. We are just so happy for this situation in Denmark. But as for your information, the strategy is to be negotiated in the Danish parliament, but we hope that it will be accepted. And there will be 4 areas where we have selected where the state starts by buying the Ecolabel products, and it will be paper towels, toilet paper, detergents, copy paper, and printed matter. And it will also be soap and hygiene products. So as you maybe remember for the category 1, 2, 3, and 4, it is products that are located in the category 1. But the list of areas, they will be expanded year by year. So it was some information about how the Danish government is going to work more strategically with the eco-labels in procurement. My final slide, it is just to bring the public and the private procurers together and to remember that with joint focus between both green public and private procurement, we will succeed with a more sustainable future. So this is absolutely a short video. This were the word from mine and from Denmark, and the inspiration from the Danish, from the way that we work with public and also with private procurement in Denmark.
Thank you. Thanks, Ms. Elmedal. Thanks for your sharing, and let us know the Nordic countries and the Danish sustainable public procurement strategy. And I think it will be very helpful for other countries and regions. There is a question. I'm not so sure if you can answer, or maybe beyond Eric. Are there any countries that have already enforced their law to make green procurement legally bring your government entities?
That have already enforced their law to make green procurement legally binding for government. No, not yet, but it is a strategy that was just published 1 month ago, and we are waiting for it to be implemented.
I think I could add, I think that the question should go to Korea. I think Korea has legislated this in at least, so it is in Asia where you have this, they are in forefront when it comes to legislation about public procurement.
Korea, we have legislation regarding to the green public procurement. It started in 1992, and it still continues to be enforced among all the government entities.
Malaysia has a mandatory green public procurement. I think some Asian countries do have that. So Bon Eric is quite correct. Mostly in this region that has a mandatory public procurement.
Yes, and in fact, KT has a business initiative to work with the Asian Pacific countries to make legislations such as Thailand. And we tried to do it with Vietnam as well.
Augustine, Mr. Augustine Coy is the General Secretary of Malaysia Green Purchase Network and also the Second Secretariat of IGPN. He has a rich work experience in government and non-government organizations in Malaysia and engaged in green purchasing for many years and provides strong support for Malaysia GPP department. He's also our old friend and he will share his experience on how to bring Ecolabel and green purchasing together. So please, Mr. Augustine.
Thank you very much, Xiaodong. Yeah, very nice meeting everybody. I also like to thank Jan and IGPN for hosting this Zoom. I'm used to getting onto Zoom nowadays. Let me start the second slide. The mission of IGPN, or International Green Purchasing, we spend a lot of time in the promotion, in the development of environmentally friendly products and services globally. I remember IGPN started in the early 2000s and they went around the region to promote. And sharing of information is also another main mission that they have achieved. I think these two areas, IGPN has done quite a lot to share. The third mission that IGPN is looking at is actually to harmonize or to link things together between purchasing, procurement, and the products. So we have tools, guidelines that have been looked at, and now I've been asked to look at how eco-labels and green procurement can be harmonized or to be synergized. Next slide, please. Next slide, yeah. Sorry, little background on IGPN. The Green Purchasing Network, actually the main frontier or the first to be established was set up in Japan. And actually they gave birth to the Green Purchasing Network movement in 1996. Okay, as you can see, IGPN came up in 2005 after the Sendai conference of 2004. And then we have subsequently the international conference on in Barcelona, so on, and then Kuala Lumpur in 2014. There are many GPNs or networks set up in the region, but basically most of the activities are tailored around conference, exhibition, sharing of documents and data. Whereas at the same time, you see, GEN has a very long history too. The 1978, the Blue Angels came out, and then GEN came out in 1994. So they have much more longer history than IGPN. But basically, both of them shares the same mission. Have the next slide. Can I get it? Yeah. Green purchasing can be a very powerful mission or movement for developing and supporting sustainable consumption and production. it has been supporting the government green procurement quite some time now. And I can see from even Ingrid's presentation just now and from the various activities that are happening in the region, government green procurement has actually been in a way established. And I'd like also to thank UNEP. I'm not sure whether Farid is here, but I can see his name. Farid came in, I remember, in the early 2008, 2009, to support the movement of government green procurement. And we went to the Ministry of Finance together to explain and to try and promote government green procurement. And today, to answer the question of one of our participants, is that Malaysia has a mandatory green procurement. So while I look at it as government green procurement has been in a way to establish, but government GPP, in terms of GDP purchase, 15%, 20% at most, but we still have the 85% of the private purchasing. It's another way that we will also like to look at the green sectors for the private consumer. Can I have the next one? Yeah. Yes. So to be together, both GEN and IGPN, we have to look at them as an apex partner. They are apex organization to promote two different areas, but they are running like on the same coin. They are on the different sides of the same coin. In this particular slides, you can see that both of the movements, Ecolabels and green procurement, are actually business driven. They are actually market oriented. Most of the others are social, it could be other aspects, but being a business sector, so we have to look at the business sector. To bring them together as apex organization, while you have the pull and the push, who push and who pulls actually. In the case of eco-labels, we have seen many eco-labels, and I had discussion with actually SIRIM, our standard organization, yesterday. We have eco-labels, but if there is no pull, if there's no market, eco-labels will not be much acceptable or adopted in the marketplace. And SIRIM has done a case study on the biodegradable bags, and they have all the eco-labels, but the purchasing level is not that good. So as I look at it, we need to look at, I think GEN eco-labels has quite a good established mark in the market, whereas IGPN needs to pull the market to get into the green consumption area. If not, it's a very tough business that we're going to. While each works independently, I think it's very important that IGPN, GEN have a common strategy to see how the push and the pull can be put together. Can I have the next slide? So both, if you look at it from this IGPN PowerPoint that I borrowed, without the purchases from government, consumers, or business, it's very hard to pull the eco-labels. So if the demand on the left, on the purchaser side is not there, it's very hard to create a green market. The domain and the need now is to look at how private consumers can be actually driving the market. And I think that's an area that we want to look at. And I've seen this when I was doing the case study for UNEP We had a case study on Siam Cement, a cement plant in Thailand. And it's a private corporation, but they have a huge examples of how green procurement can take place. And if this can happen in many other areas, I think that would be a good drive to handle this. Have the next slide. Can I have the next slide? Yeah. So the eco-labeling synergy with green purchasing. Well, green procurement law and regulations, as I can see, sooner or later in the Asian region, it will become mandatory, as was done in Japan a long time ago. But it's also important that the general public have a easy accessibility to green products, services, even the green cards, and to ensure that the business are run in a way that there is a demand for the products. And also to push the synergy, I think the benefits and incentives to companies have to look at. Generally, companies will not do it unless they can see that some benefits are coming to them. And of course, we have to do that. We have to link between the procurement and to sustainability reports and to all the other goals that we have. Can we have the next slide? Just look at some of the reasons why, while labels has been there a long time, procurement is strong, it's coming up in government sectors, but in the general sense, green purchasing in general, in the public level at large, are not so great. Actually, there's very small numbers of green alternatives in the marketplace. I've been looking around at green shops and many other shops trying to promote labels, products, but there are very few of them. Many of them are selling green products, but I would say quite a lot of them are in the greenwashing category. So their labels are actually not eco labels, but sometimes self-declared labels. So the lack of confidence has actually created not the pull. There's no more push. The people do not understand why eco labels are important for them to purchase. So when they look at a product, green labels and goods and services are generally seen as more costly. Companies look at labels as something, if it's not essential for their marketing, they will not take it actually. And it's also been generally said that green labels products are very costly. So I would say we need to look at some of these barriers and see how we can handle that in the next session or so. Can I have the next slide? We know much of the work that has been done in the past between the different organizations. And you can see from Farid's presentation, there's so many programs, so many documentations that are going forward too. But which way can IGPN and GEN, since my topic is how to make them be together. And you have Farid mentioned about COVID-19. It has changed lifestyle actually in many countries. One of the things that have changed dramatically is the way people purchase. People purchase a lot from the website. Online website has been the key in many families' purchases now. I think Korean use the word untact. It means you're no more in direct contact, sales and marketing. I'm actually working a program under the COVID-19 for the government agencies to see how those who have been recently retrenched can find employment back. So we find that direct marketing is quite tough to do. Door to door, shops are closed, but online are now been the key to promote. So basing on the way to go, but what are we going to solve? I think Farid has taken quite a lot. We always talk about climate change, pollution. Of course, online marketing has created quite a lot of other impacts, other consequences like packaging problems. I get about 3 or 4 packages a day and huge amount of packaging problems that we have. So this is some of the things that we need to look at between the problems of the new normal and what we are doing now. Can I have the next slide? Some of the things that we like to look at actually is to look at eco-labels firstly. I had a discussion with Sirim, our partner in working on green procurement. How do you match the needs of manufacturers and consumers? At one point, we say it's very expensive, it's very costly. It's very costly to do the eco-labels. As I said just now, Sirim has tried to give 50% off from the eco-labels certification. Yeah, there are companies that participated. So while cost is important to manufacturers, but if you do not match it with the procurement side, the demand side, if you do not create enough demand, there will not be any demand for eco-labels products. So this is an area I think we need to really look at. Under the new normal, what are the areas we can do to promote? Online is key now. We have to do online. Even the exhibitions, the eco-products exhibition are now online. I've seen a lot of exhibitions in the region. I've been to many of the exhibitions. But in this part of the region, quite a lot of exhibitions on eco-products are for the selling of technology, so-called green technology, but very low education level on what is the green. I've been to Korea, Japan, even European countries, and they are much focused on education. But here is very much focused on selling actually. So this is an area to look at. Jen has a strong eco-label credibility. People know it's third party, it is an acceptable eco-label. At the same time, green purchasing, we are a network based. So recently, IGPN decided to do a pilot project on the certification of green procurables. This is more to give the significance and confidence to the people that green procurement is there. An MOU was signed between the second secretary of IGPN and Sirim to do some pilot projects in Malaysia on how the certification of green procurers can be handled. And we look at the possibility of doing a pilot project next year. This year we couldn't do anything because of COVID situation, but we are looking for some fundings to start a few pilot projects, and I hope that can be pushed on actually. So the future will have to be looked at very differently between eco-labels and how do you push them. Can I have the next slide? In the new normal situation, this is the last slide actually. I would like to focus more on digital marketing. I think Farid mentioned just now about blockchain, looking at how things are doing. I also have been looking recently on some of the streaming business that are going on. They are very decentralized system that can be used to promote goods and services at a very low cost. But at the same time, online has become very important. It's a possibility that we look at some of the online big shops. I mentioned Alibaba, Shopee, Lazada, and there's a new one called Remington streaming business that is now in the market. It's on peer-to-peer on the streaming, and it's very low cost way of marketing. To really do this, we need some startup funds. We're trying to look for some startup funds to look at some possibility of maybe open green shops, green card, and to talk to some of these big boys to see that whether a green shop can be promoted. With some of these programs, which I looking into a different direction, hopefully we can push green products to be more accessible to the general market. And I think that's what hopefully from here we like to look at. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Augustine. It's a good idea on your digit shop. I think with the rapid development of digit, it has the effect all aspects of our life and lifestyle. And it's market driving and online sales platform will be the main mode of procurement in the digital era. I think it may be a good way to promote the green purchasing by green e-shop. And if you have any successful pilot experience, I think it will be easier to promote widely. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Let's welcome Mr. Farid. He is the program officer of UNEP. He's also our friend, both of Joon and IGPN. He works with UNEP Economy Division and has been leading the work of UNEP in the area of sustainable public procurement since 2008. He will share the international update, the trends, and the report on the sustainable public procurement. And please, Yaker.
Thanks a lot, Xiaodong. It's a pleasure to have the opportunity to speak before you today. I see that there's a great audience, over 90 participants. Congratulations for this event, and hello to all the friends that are online and participating. So I'm Farid Yaker, talking to you from Paris, in charge of sustainable public procurement in UNEP. I'd like to present you the progress of the One Planet SPP program. I'm sure most of you heard about the 10YFP, which has now transformed into the One Planet SPP network. And within this network, we have a program dedicated to sustainable public procurement, which I think is the focus of the discussions today. So the SPP program regroups 139 partner organizations around the globe in more than 40 countries. It is co-led by ICLAI, Dutch Ministry of Infrastructures, the Chinese Environmental Development Center, which is part of the Ministry of Ecology and Environment of China, which is presented today by Xiaodong and her colleagues, and of course UNEP, that is also a co-lead of this program. Our goal is to accelerate the uptake and implementation of SPP at all levels to ensure sustainable consumption and production and assist in the delivery of SDG 12. For those of you who are not aware of this opportunity, I would like to invite you to visit our knowledge hub, where you can find resources, tools, documents, publications, etc. You have also 89 initiatives on SPP, various projects. I will present you that later. And then you have a list of webinars that can be of interest to you on various subjects. So this is what we call our portfolio. We have tools, guidance, we have initiatives, but we have also networks that are part of our membership. So in terms of the applications, the projects related to SPP that you can find on the Knowledge Hub, here I can show you a little bit a representation of where they are. You can see that there is a worldwide distribution of those SPP initiatives that you can find on the Knowledge Hub. In terms of networks, we have counted 11 networks that are affiliated to our members or that are related to our members, among them ICLE, of course, networks, but also in China, the Alliance of Green Consumption and Green Supply Chain, and we have also Sustainable Purchasing Network, etc. In the program, we have set up what we call interest groups, and one of them is led by UNEP. It's on SPP monitoring, and in this monitoring interest group, we are tackling SDG 12.71, and I will come back to that. So our specific objectives are, one, to work on 12.71, but also to identify existing SPP impact measurement monitoring tools and best practices, to communicate information, and also to enrich the One Planet knowledge database. That's why you find so many initiatives and resources. Very often they are provided by our interest group. We also try to raise awareness, communicate the benefits of SPP, and then we have started a new area. It's on digital technologies, because we believe that through digital technologies we can better understand risk factors and impact across the entire supply chain. And this will be of interest to you, colleagues that are working on eco-labels, because it's very much related to the work you're doing, trying to understand what are the impacts across the entire supply chain to better define our purchasing criteria, and also better use the eco-labels. Also, we try to monitor institutional purchasing through digital technologies to accelerate the shift to sustainable procurement. We're using, for example, artificial intelligence, blockchains, etc. In terms of 12.7, you know that there is a specific target in Goal 12 related to sustainable procurement. The idea, the target reads, promote public procurement practices that are sustainable in accordance with national policies and priorities. And it has a specific indicator, which is about the number of countries implementing sustainable public procurement policies and action plans. So we have started, of course, the collection phase, the data collection phase for this indicator. We are actually in the middle of it. The work started in 2018, 2019, when we developed the methodology with a group of partners. Then we pilot tested it in 2019 with 16 countries taking an active role in this pilot testing. Thanks to this work, the methodology was reclassified in New York, the UN, as a Tier 2 reclassification, meaning that it is considered to be robust, and then data collection can now take place, which is now happening. We have also, in this interest group, developed a number of, or issued a number of publications. The most recent one is on the experience of green public procurement in the Republic of Korea. So I will share with you the publication, the presentation, so you will have access to the link. Otherwise, you can easily Google it or find it on the One Planet Knowledge Hub. We have also published a literature review memo on SDGs and procurement. So here, the idea is to provide an analysis of the current landscape and available literature on tools that connect the SDGs and procurement. So we are exploring the existing guidance, method, and tools that help procurement advance towards sustainability, identifying also potential organizations and initiatives to partner with, and we're suggesting methods to measure and communicate the sustainability impact or outcomes of procurement in this literature memo that you can also find online or on our Knowledge Hub. Upcoming in 2021, and here I'm talking about UNEP, however, in the framework of the One Planet Network, there will be a third edition of the SPP Global Review. We had one in 2013, one in 2017. In 2017, we had, I would say, an annex with specific fact sheets on the situation, the progress of the 40 more advanced countries in the world. We hope to extend this next time with even more countries that have joined the international global movement for SPP. We're going also to update our SPP guidelines, which are the methodology we use to support countries on SPP implementation. And I finish with informing you that the SPP network, the SPP program, will very soon issue a call to action for a responsible recovery. The idea is to use sustainable public procurement for COVID-19 recovery and accelerate the great transition. So the main ideas that are being put forward in this call will be that we need to use procurement as an important lever for CO2 savings by applying life cycle costing, shadow pricing, or similar techniques. We will also call for development and implementation of national SPP action plans, which will be inclusive of ambitious SPP targets. And we should put also monitoring tools to measure progress. We're calling for countries to set minimum target of 30% SPP for the most impactful procurement categories by 2030 and 50% by 2040. Also, SPP action plans should be, where SPP action plans are already implemented, we need to ensure that they are amended to contribute to the sustainability of the post-COVID recovery plan. So watch out, this call will come out very soon. And in terms of prospects and the work done by other colleagues in UNEP, for example, we are working on procurement guidance on plastics. So this also will be issued soon. And then working also on global best practices on emerging chemical policy issues of concern under the strategic approach to international chemicals management. So how really we can better procure and take into account the dangers of some chemicals in our procurement. And I finish with the work we're doing on the ground with by supporting Senegal SPP implementation. So the One Planet program has established a working group which is supporting the government of Senegal in the implementation of its action plan. And the group is composed of ICLE, Environmental Development Center of the Chinese Ministry of Environment and Ecology, UNEP, FAO, African Development Bank, and it's progressing really well. And we are getting a lot of responses from Senegal and a lot of very good tight collaboration with Senegal in the implementation of their SPP action plan. So thank you very much, and thanks again for giving us the opportunity to present our activities in the framework of the One Planet SPP program. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Thanks for your continuous research and your contributions to SPP. Also thanks UNEP for excellent guidance and support to leading the global SPP program. And we CEC as one of partner of UNEP SPP program, we really felt the unremitting effort of UNEP and other co-leaders to promote SPP for contribute the achievement of SDG. And I think all of your research reports of SPP program will provide important guidance and the reference for global SPP program. And I also think the SDG 1271 indicator measurable methodologies will be a good demonstration for evaluation SPP performance. And also your SPP program always closely combined with the hot issues of environmental protection, and I believe your gesture introduced the plastic guidance will make a significant contribution to control the global plastic pollution. And I'm looking forward to the coming second edition of UNEP SPP guidance. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So now it's my colleague, Kate, Miss Kate Harris. She comes from Australia, and she will leading the session now. So please, Kate.
Thanks, Xiaodong. It's a pleasure to be a part of this process, and I think it's a critical and timely conversation around global green public procurement. So it's wonderful to see so many involved in the session. As Xiaodong mentioned, I'm Kate Harris, and I was previously on the board of Global Ecolabelling Network. I'm very proud of that, and will be moving forward into the Secretariat role from 1st of January, taking over from a wonderful Linda and all her great work. I'm very passionate about this space. We're thrilled to be highlighting the conversation on eco-labelling and green public procurement experiences and challenges. We have a wonderful panel of speakers, and I'm going to kick off with the first introductory session, so I'll be timing myself. So if I break the rules, Linda, you'll have to kick me off. So I'm just going to share my screen. So how are green public procurement and eco-labelling linked? This is a really useful question, and I think we've already heard some really fascinating and relevant comments on that, and some examples, and also some questions in the chat. So we look forward to getting more into those at the end of our session, which we'll have time for. So I think we all know the challenge at hand in terms of why do we need green public procurement. We can't keep doing what we're doing in regards to people and planet and the challenges that we've created. So in regards to the why, I think we're all clear. The good news is we also have some very strong solutions of how we can actually achieve that. And as we've heard throughout this webinar, the challenge is that sense of scale and a systemised approach with a global coordinated mechanism, of which we've heard from some stakeholders who are managing that. We're also needing a whole life cycle approach, which is why particularly the eco-labels come into their fore in regards to this challenge. So there's no such thing as cheap. And I think for probably the last post-industrial revolution and very much the last 20, 30 years, we have continued to purchase driven by cost. And the challenge is there is no such thing as cheap. We have been, I guess, saving economically at the expense of people and planet. And it's time for an adjustment of how we can actually consider the true costs, including those that are going to impact next generations. I chose this reference on green public procurement from the EU. And what I love about this is the framing of eco-innovation. And indeed, innovation is not about doing something completely new, it's about doing it different. And in regards to what we need to do, how to continue to support our society, it isn't necessarily about a total change, it is about doing it different and an adaptation, and very much a creative process of eco-innovation. And I think eco-innovation in regards to a process on how we can achieve this together is a very useful frame. We also have the wonderful Sustainable Development Goals, and we've heard from Farid, and we've also got wonderful work from UN Environment and One Planet. These present a magnificent roadmap. We are clear on the why, and these in a global coordinated effort, sorry, it's moving, present an opportunity in regards to the what we need to do within a contextual sense of each country. So the why and the what are really clear for us with a very clear mandate. And in regards to people and planet, there are very clear responsibilities of eco-labels, materials and manufacturing that sits within the Sustainable Development Goals, and of which eco-labels can play a role. Circular economy is certainly on the rise, and it's been of a topical conversation across materials, across manufacturing, which is fantastic to see. More and more this is happening. And in regards to eco-labels, we are starting to talk more, and it's in process in regards to the international standards work also. We are talking about a whole life cycle approach. Apologies, my slides seem to have had a timing put on it. Apologies. The green building, I'm going to start here. Of course, I come from Australia. I was the previous CEO of Good Environmental Choice Australia, or Yaker, which I'm very proud to have represented. And in Australia, we have had a really strong representation of green buildings doing excellence in eco-innovation and demonstrating that the how is actually truly possible. And this is an example of one of those buildings in Sydney that is one of the green vertical and is full of eco-labelled products and demonstrates that excellence in regards to a whole life cycle approach to a building and materials, and indeed a whole precinct. I wanted to highlight in another example in Australia, ISCA, Infrastructure Sustainability Council of Australia, which is actually doing green procurement beautifully well in regards to working in partnership with governments and big business. And in regards to the examples of levels of infrastructure and building, the economic perspective has become clear, and I think we've heard some questions in regards to that already. So is this just about going green, or is this about the economy? Well, indeed, we do need to manage both. So if we look at, and this is since 2012, we have more updated statistics which are coming out, but there are billions and billions of dollars at an Australian level and a New Zealand level that are coordinating and offering sustainable solutions using materials and also design concepts for eco-innovation. We've also seen a growth in the concern around materials, and that has come up also driving the economic conversation. I'd like to acknowledge that, again, this is not just about people and planet, as much as that is critically important. And if you actually factor in the whole component, it also does not have to be economically more expensive. Indeed, many eco-labelled products have been shown to create a more effective, a more supportive and engaged workforce in the interiors, and being shown to be 30% more productive. If one actually looks at the costs of workforce, which is the majority of expenditure, then actually in regards to this, the savings are significant. Staffing and the workforce is indeed very much usually the highest expense of organisations. So when we see organisations in Australia and in green building mechanisms across the world, they're actually doing the economic calculations on what is actually the true cost in regards to buying good materials and seeing the effectiveness of staff and also the engagement and retention of staff, the cost of training new staff, it economically has come out as a valuable concept to deliver. We've talked about eco-innovation, and I'd also like to show one of the other drivers for eco-labels, which is very much in green public procurement, which is very much around mitigation and litigation. So you'll notice in terms of Grenfell Towers and others, and recognise that this is not just about having green and having good. It is about transparency and truth, and having an understanding of what these materials really are, having that credibility and transparency in order to make good, safe decisions for our public systems. Of course, when you factor in those potential costs when things go wrong, then things like eco-labels and the assurance they provide in a public procurement are very clear. We're also seeing in an Australian concept the importance of schools and healthy materials. When we think of putting small children into public buildings such as schools with small immune systems, that sense of paint and flooring and furniture is critical. Hospitals as well, when there's people, has also become a huge focus in Australian government procurement for public buildings. In Australia, and indeed many others, we have different levels of leadership of government, which does make it complex. And in hearing some of the other messages, that importance of working through all levels of public procurement in partnership with business, but also the intra and intergovernmental relationships are critical. And business to business are very much a part of that. They're often contracted to roll it out. They are a critical conversation and relationship when it comes to procurement. And we can't just talk about government and public procurement. We do need to talk about business also. Some of the stakeholders, as a bit of an introduction more to this session, you've already met some of them, and these are very much a go-to. You heard from Farid the tools. There are amazing people willing to share in this space with free resources. I really encourage you and all of us to learn and continue to share, as we're doing within this webinar, to be able to scale in a global system of response.
Excuse me, Kate, you're at 10 minutes.
Thanks, Linda. The ISO 2400 at a standards level is also a global response and a guide where you can actually, it's something that Yaker was involved in and other GEN members, and it's a wonderful guide to actually give to business and engage with also in regards to how to actually manage this. I even gave myself a timer. The biggest complaint we hear is it going to cost more? Actually, we're hearing that less. It's more actually the wonderful presentation from Nordic Swan. Can I have enough products? We need the chicken or the egg. And I'm going very fast now. And I've gone to procure it, but I can't find it. So how do we actually make sure that we can service these needs? And this is critical. And I loved the response we saw earlier from Nordic Swan, where we actually can listen and respond and ask for people to acknowledge their needs, their procurement requirements, and also seek to deliver in partnership with them so that it still becomes a more meaningful mechanism moving forward. These are some of the GEN members, of course. Transparency, truth, and trust are critical aspects of the success of the global eco-labelling network, and why it's critical that we continue to support these eco-labels moving forward in regards to this timely response in a global mechanism. In regards to, just to highlight, these are some of the Yaker ones as an example of a GEN member. I just want to say that all the pictures of things you saw tonight are all eco-labelled and were all used through a procurement process because of the eco-labelling and that trust and transparency of the standard and seeking truth and credibility. And last, I'd just like to share, I guess, again, a context more for Australia, our important First Nation people and Indigenous who have taken an amazing care of this land and are a part of a big push in Australia for procurement of working with Indigenous organisations, which has been critically successful and is a good example of how clean and green and also socially responsible moving forward can actually work, and is government mandated, with very much circular economy a second follower. So that's enough from me. Thank you all. We're looking forward to eco-labelling servicing more and more procurement moving forward. Okay, now up next, I'd like to welcome Mr. Hiroyuki Kobayashi, who's hopefully ready to go. Thank you, Hiro. Welcome. Hiroyuki is the Deputy Manager of the Promotion Section of EcoMark for the Japanese Environment Association, and proudly the only eco-label in Japan. Hiro does some amazing work with regional chapter, and also does a lot around international activities and promotion, including mutual recognition, which is critical in this place. So over to you, Hiro, and welcome.
Okay, thank you very much for your introduction. So, hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Hiroyuki Kobayashi, and please call me Hiro. That's much easier. And thank you very much for inviting me as one of the speakers today. I'm really proud. I'm really proud of that. And now, so I'm going to share with you Japanese case about green public procurement and eco-labeling. So, Xiaodong-san, Kate, if you have any trouble listening to my voice, please let me know. And firstly, I would like to introduce our program, EcoMark program. So this is our EcoMark logo. So you can see that, EcoMark is designed for our wish to protect the earth and the environment by ourselves. So you can see that small e, and the small e stands for the both environment, earth, and which I held with arm gently. So I think it's very eye-catching. And our EcoMark program was established in 1989. And we, Japanese Japan Environment Association, managed the EcoMark program. So, and please remember, so Japan Environment Association is the non-profit and independent organization in Japan. So we are not government-related organization. So we are independent organization. So as Kate said, hopefully we have only type 1 eco-labeling in Japan. And now we have more than 69 criteria and more than 40,000 certified products here in Japan. And then, so I think I have enough time to go through all points. I just pick up a few points. So number 3, so our EcoMark program is running 100% by application annual fees. So no financial support from government. So that's why we are independent organization. And fortunately, we have very high awareness, more than 90%. So I think most of Japanese people have seen Japanese EcoMark logo. And hopefully, EcoMark is widely used as a reference for green public procurement in Japan. So I'm going to explain later. So from now on, I'm going to explain about Japanese green public procurement. So I just summarize GPP characteristics in the only 3 points. So Japanese government is set up the GPP criteria for 275 items. And number 2, this is a self-declaration system by the manufacturers. That's very interesting. And number 3, this is a mandatory for the central government. So this is a framework of Japanese public procurement systems. And this is kind of a lot of information there. So I don't have time to go over all points. And and I also found some questions from the participants today. So I think I'm pretty sure Japan is one of the countries to have some binding law for green public procurement. And now we have the law named purchasing law, a green purchasing law. So as it sounds, this is a law about only GPP. only GPP. So as far as I know, I think there's only 2 countries to have such a law, Japan and Korea. And like EU, European countries, they have the public procurement directive, and they have some public procurement law or regulation, something like that. But this is more like public procurement in general, not green public procurement. They have some green public procurement sentence in there. So what's unique here in Japan is we have only GPP law. Also Korea has a similar law and regulations. And as I said, this is a mandatory for the central government agency. So what the mandatory means is not to buy the green product, nor not buy the eco-mark product. The mandatory for central government agency is to prepare and announce their procurement policy, and the monitor and record and the report to the Ministry of Environment of Japan. This is a mandatory requirement for central government agency. On the other hand, in the law for local government, this is like more like a recommendations. They are not mandatory. This is just recommendation. This is our Japanese systems. Here we go. Yeah, here we go. And this is a comparison between GPP and eco-mark in Japan. As I said, the GPP on the left side established in just year of 2000. The Ministry of Environment of Japan is leading green public procurement in Japan. This is a law. And on the other hand, the eco-mark, this is as I said, voluntary programs managed by the Japan Environment Association. We are complete independent organization. So this is a different system, different programs. And then for the green public procurement, the GPP criteria, the mostly GPP criteria set as minimum level. But the eco-mark criteria is set as basically 20% of each market. It will be more strict than GPP criteria. The reason of the minimum criteria in GPP is that there is some basic principle in Japan. So it must be purchased anywhere, anytime in Japan. That's a kind of basic principle about Japanese green public procurement. That's why Japanese government set up the criteria at the minimum levels. And then on the bottom side, as I said, this is no certification systems. Just based on self-declaration system of the manufacturers, declares, oh, our product is comply with green GPP criteria. And that's it. But on the other hand, eco-mark. So eco-mark is a type 1 eco-labeling. So and the third-party certification. So this is a big difference between GPP in Japan and the eco-mark. And also, as I said, Japanese government or public officer don't have to buy the eco-mark product, don't have to choose eco-mark. Eco-mark is one of the means to recognize GPP criteria. So maybe public officer in Japan use eco-mark or any other eco-labeling as well, unless if the public officer is sure the other eco-label comply with GPP criteria. So this is kind of a Japanese systems. So this is an image of the criteria level of GPP and the eco-mark. As I said, that eco-mark set criteria a little bit more strict than GPP. So that's why public officers tend to normally use eco-mark for their purchasing. So for instance, ballpoint pen. So eco-mark is like required recycled plastics more than 70%. But the green passing law, GPP criteria is like only more than 40%. So you can see the more strict criteria than GPP criteria.
Excuse me, Hiro-san, you're at 10 minutes.
Yeah, thank you very much. So maybe I will skip some my presentation. So I think this, self-declaration versus third-party certification. As I said, in Japan, we have GPP criteria, but no certification scheme. Basically, public officer, if they buy the green product, they have to make sure the product comply with GPP criteria. But on the other hand, if they use third-party certification like EcoMark, so EcoMark office, we have all documentations of this product. So that's why public officer to use EcoMark certification for their their purchasing. That's the reason. And this is a kind of old data, and so this is like a question: what kind of the ecolabelling you use for the green public procurement? So fortunately, a lot of public officers use EcoMark as a reference of the GPP criteria. More than 90%. So I think that's I think that's it. It's almost, I don't have good time. So thank you very much. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer the question Q&A session later. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that. Very useful and a great precedent for us all to follow. So many thanks, Hiroyuki. We're now going to hear from Mr. Xiaodong, who's the Director Audit Department at China Environmental United Certification Center, and has been doing much research work since 2009 and doing a lot in climate change and more, with expertise in green supply chain, greenhouse gases and low carbon. Over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone from China, and good morning, good evening, everyone. I'm Xiaodong from China Environmental United Certification Center, and I'm delighted to be here and have this opportunity to share my topic. And today I will share the topic about the experience and challenge of GPP and Ecolabel in China. I'm going to give this talk in 3 parts. One is the China environmental label, and the second part is the China GPP policy, and the third part is the main points and the conclusion. So the first part, I will give a overall situation about China Ecolabel. Until now, we have 3,974 enterprises have passed the certification, and we have nearly 10,000 valid certificates. The number of certificates in developed province is higher. Top 4 GDP provinces, which are Guangdong, Jiangsu, Shandong, and Zhejiang, account for nearly 40% of all the certificates. We can see the map on the right. The number of the top 10 province certificates account for the 78% of all the certificates. Furthermore, the Guangdong province, including Shenzhen city, accounts for the 21% of all certificates. The average number of the certificates is 300 per province. And there are 18 provinces and cities with more than 100 certificates. We also have 3 the most important area of our China Ecolabel certification, which is furniture, green printing, and coating. We can say these 3 areas account for the 62 of the total. The above 3 standards are supported by the GPP policy. The next part, I will have an introduction about our GPP policy. I think the GPP policy is a part of the green consumption policy. So I will have a general introduction of the green consumption policy of China. In China, we have 2-level consumption policy. one level is the first level is the government level, and the second level is the ministry level. Meanwhile, in the ministry level, we have also two kinds. One is the economic field, that's like fiscal, tax, price policy, and the second level is the information-based policy. Also, we can call it certificate assessment policy. Our China Ecolabel is one kind of this information-based policy. In the ministry level, we have 75 policies in China, and among them there are 40 economic policies, accounting for the 53%, where the rest 35 are policies for other types. This slide shows that based on our China Ecolabel certification, the GPP policy is linked with the Ecolabel certification. In 2006, Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Ecology and the Environment started the government green procurement, which is based on the 34 kinds of products. And the other GPP policy started in 2011, which is started by the former Nation News Publication Bureau and MEE. This picture shows our certification, our logo used in the product, like the printing, coating, and the printer. The last part is my main points and conclusion. The first one is 34 plus 1 Ecolabel certification categories that is supported by GPP, accounting for nearly 90% of the total number of certificates. So the China Ecolabel certification first driving force is the GPP policy. So my main point is first, we should speed up the establishment and the improvement of relevant policy framework of GPP to improve the framework of China's green consumption and formulate relevant policies in more areas of consumer goods. The second is the function of green consumption policy from bottom to top, and driven by the consumption side needs to be strengthened. Meanwhile, we should establish the mechanism of green consumption information disclosure and improve public participation constantly. China has entered the stage of high-quality economic development stage, and innovation is the core element of high-quality development. The enterprise with environmental label certification are the top 20% in the industry. So the top 5% companies, they have more aggressive words to say for their more environmental friendly product. So CEC has developed the CEC logo voluntary certification for the needs of leading enterprises. At present, we have 10 product categories, including furniture, coating, garbage bags, and so on. So first, the CEC logo is the extension and the supplement of China Ecolabel. Second is the CEC logo is the preliminary test of China Ecolabel. So this is my presentation. For the time limited, if you have more questions, please contact my colleague Xiaohui. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Mr. Sri. Lovely to hear everything that's going on and the scale of progress in China. Next, we have Joon from Katie, who's an associate researcher from Korea Environmental Industry Technology Institute. And we've had the pleasure of hosting Katie in Australia before, and very well aware of your significant work. You have a degree in social science and specialty in green public procurement. And indeed, you're managing the leading city network with ICLAI on GPP. Many thanks.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for organizing this webinar. I think we are short on time, so I'm just gonna start my presentation. Hello, my name is Joon An from KT. I'm an associate researcher in Sustainable Lifestyle Department. So today I'll be talk about green public procurement. As you all know, GPP in Korea is rather more advanced than the rest of the world, I believe. And we were mentioned multiple times in the case studies of UNEP and OECD and etc. So before I continue, I just want to introduce the table of contents first. So here's my table of contents. So part one, the legal and policy framework. So we have what's called KSDG, and it's basically a Korean version of SDG. So we have our vision is to make the country more inclusive and move to more sustainable nation. We have 5 strategies and 17 targets. And out of the 17 targets, the 12-point target is the sustainable consumption and production. And we have 12.7.1 target is our goal is to increase the percentage of the green public procurement rate up to 70% by 2030, which is quite a big goal, I imagine. And so here's some history of what we have done so far. In 2006, we had our first action plan for promoting purchase of green products. So supporting and establishing the ordinance and expanding the target institutions and etc. And now we're on to the 4th action plan. And our goal is to transform every aspect of our lives to eco-friendly lives and reflect Korean Green New Deal agenda to our policies. So the act on promotion of purchase of green product. Here, the word green products actually it's eco-labeled products. So we use the green products, the word green product as the synonymous to the eco-labeled products. So we launched this program in 1992, and we created a legislative agenda in 2005, which makes every public institutions to mandatorily purchase green products and develop, submit green public procurement plans and performance records. And now we have about 30,000 institutions purchasing green products mandatorily and submitting and publishing the implementation plan for GPP. So part 2 is implementing mechanism. So here in this diagram, you see all the organizations involved. So we have the Ministry of Environment and our organization KT, Korean Procurement Service, and public institutions as well. So you can see all these stakeholders involved, and I believe I mentioned earlier in the presentation, GPP in Korea is rather more advanced, and I can proudly say so because of our electronic system. We have very many different stakeholders, yet all the transferring of data among the stakeholders are done electronically, which is quite convenient and quite fast. So here's some list of products categories. So as of May 2019, we have about 15,000 products supplied by approximately 4,000 companies on 165 product categories. So you can see how the industry for green product is growing. So let me introduce a product category in detail. So office equipment, electronic and consumable supplies, furniture, engineering, and construction materials as well. So what we have for supporting GPP measures, it's we have our main site called Green Public Information Platform. So you can search all the items in green products, and it actually updates every month. It provides GPP guideline and best practices and GPP results reports as well. And KT also provides GPP guideline and training as well. So all the local government workers need to be trained, and I think they have to do it every year. So we also have financial incentives. So part 3, monitoring and measuring benefits. We have what's called Green Desk, which is our main site to monitor the GPP records and also implementation plans as well. So we have 4 staff on roll who is on a monitoring duty as well. So because we use the electronic system, we only, I guess, need 4 staff who are in charge of monitoring duty. So monitoring results of GPP in Korea. So expenditures has grown massively over the years. So we started in 2005, $0.79 billion US dollar, and now in 2019 we have $3.88 billion. Composition of the product groups. So at first we started with the office supplies, but now we move on to the building and construction materials as well. So in 2017, our record shows that the building and construction materials took part over 47%. Composition of GPP by organization. In 2017, the local government took the largest part. And what we see here is the total expenditure of GPP. Like I said, the building and construction materials took the largest part. So we also have many obstacles we face, and KT conducted survey on the obstacles on GPP, and over 5,000 procurers replied, and 2018, and most of them said the GPP lacks of the diverse products, and also people are unaware of GPP, and also difficulties in meeting other competing procurement priorities, and also the prices was a big part as well, and the low quality as well. So our measure on sustainability impact of GPP in Korea, it shows that the eco label product is growing, and the eco certified companies has grown as well.
Excuse me, Joon, you are at 10 minutes. Thank you.
Okay. And it shows the impact on greenhouse emission reduction as well. And we conduct on business initiative to help the other countries to develop our legislation action as well. So we are doing business with the government of Thailand right now. And I think the biggest part that we took was that the Thai government is actually taking on our legislation background. So which was a big bonus for us. And so case studies and awards on GPP in Korea. So we do have challenges. We have a lot of different SPPs, procurement regulations, and they're actually competing with each other. So we can't just ignore all the other SPP procurement regulation. So that was the main issue. The lack of awareness and lack of policy commitment by the head of the organizations. That was the main issue with us. So May 4, we want to raise the political profile of GPP through public outreach. So working with UNEP and other international organizations would help. And also working with the other countries like Thailand and Vietnam would actually help as well to develop our GPP in the world. So I think my time is up. So thank you for listening. And if you have any question, feel free to ask. Thank you.
Many thanks, Joon Sung-an. A good example of some green public procurement. We now have Dr. Wijarn Simachaya from Thailand. A big welcome to you. Dr. Simachaya is the president of Thailand Environment Institute and is also a representative in many areas such as a ministry, ASEAN and a United Nations work. He's also the Secretary General of Thailand Business Council for Sustainable Development. Welcome.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone. Yeah, it's my great pleasure to share with you on the Thailand experience and challenges on eco-labeling and GPP. First of all, I would like to thank for the colleague to invite us for this important forum. My talk going through includes the first subject, introduction of SCP in Thailand, followed by eco-label and GPP, and the challenge and next step. I start with the SCP mechanism in Thailand. Actually, our sustainable development goal, and you already mentioned by our member for supporting on the SDG 12 on the sustainable consumption and production. Thailand also incorporate SDG in the long-term national strategy for the year 2018 to year 2037, and also incorporate with the 5-year plan on the 12 National Economic Social Development Plan for the year 2017 to year 2021, with also incorporate with the relevant plan, for example, industrial strategy plan and industrial waste management roadmap, Thailand integrated energy blueprint, and green public procurement promotion roadmap for the year 2017 to year 2021, and also the master plan for the climate change recently for the year 2015 to the year 2050. How we work on the SDG, Thailand also we rank number 41 how we can implement SDG for the country, and rank number 1 of the ASEAN member country, and how Ecolabel support GPP. I think already mentioned by our member in the how SDG 12 linked to many issues, especially for the waste management, the resource management, even the eco-labeling and certification also related to the area that we are working on, and sustainable procurement and other relevant issue under SDG 12, responsible consumption and production. In Thailand, we call GPP plan in our country. Right now, we are in the 3rd GPP plan. For the early stage, we start in the year 2007, 2011, address on the government agency. And for the second plan, we move not just only government sector, but including public organizations, state enterprise, and university. And currently, the third plan, we also including private sector engagement. The environmental quality plan also mentioned the government sector should be a leader for the green procurement in order to create the proper market and environmental product and services for the country. I show you just there are various Thai eco-label in our country. Thailand environment is still we are taking care of the eco-label Taiwan with the follow ISO 14024 with the voluntary approach, third-party certification, and verifiable product life cycle criteria based and transparency process. I'll talk a bit later on. For the Thai 2, eco value Thai 2 is based on the self-declaration, and Thai 3 is so various the label actually related to the carbon emission, carbon reduction, and other like green industry from Ministry of Industry, green hotel from the Department of Environmental Quality Promotion, even the cool mode for the greenhouse gas reduction, even the green rate for green hotel, green accommodation, for example. For Thailand, we also green label Thailand is a global eco labeling network. We are also a member of the Genesis since 2009. And right now we also have the the MOU with the 13 members, such as our member from Korea, Ecolabel, Ecomark from Japan, Green Mark from Hong Kong, even Slim, Malaysia, and other as well. Based on our proposal, the Green Label, we are served as the Green Label Secretariat with including relevant agency as a member of the committee. Right now we have together 124 active criteria, mostly in the electrical device, or together 38 criteria, followed by construction material 29, home and living 27, and other product. And for the certified green label, if we can classify also including 33 products, 744 model, and 104 company, including the most certified product, including like the pen, photocopy, transformer, craft paper, and so on. For the result of the GPP implementation in the country, there are 1,032 participating departments in the government sector, and we have 718 records, and purchase value approximately $9 million US. We compare to the carbon reduction approximately 38,000 ton carbon dioxide equivalent. If you can take a look here, Ecolabel product purchase value that I mentioned earlier, mostly in the cleaner product, because the cleaner product we attach with the green services. If the government going to hire the company have to follow the green product procedure as well. We also set up the roadshow when it racing, especially we work closely with the government sector, like the pollution control department and other government agency. We also select green product and service exhibition in various locations in the country. We signing MOU with the supermarket can provide green corner that the customer can select the green product easily. And we also promote, we provide the document leaflet for people, for government sector to understand why we need the green procurement, and also we with the government agency, pollution control department, also develop database for the we call green card or green product directory, that the government sector can find out what the list of the product that we already define as a green under GPP.
Excuse me, Wijarn, you're at 10 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, green label in Thailand, especially including develop product certification standard, maintain the quality with ready for service, promote marketing plan to support the GPP, and customer knowledge and awareness also very important. Our challenge, especially related to rule and regulation. Lucky us right now, we have new regulation GPP Act that the government sector can buy more green product. And we are at the certified body for green product in the country. We have to be ready for that. Monitoring and reporting also very important. Awareness, raising capacity building also we join the government. For next step of our green label in Thailand, improve the quality and keep competency in certification process and proactive market and support driving GPP, build cooperation with partner. Right now we work closely with the Federation of Thai industry to work on the what kind of most impact product that we have to look develop for the green procurement, increase business opportunity and commodity, especially for to the consumer. With that, thank you for your attention.
Many thanks, Dr. Simachaya. Appreciate your contribution today. I would now like to welcome Wilasini Punachapa. And I think, China, if you can help with sharing the slides, that would be great.
Yes. Are you hearing me clearly?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. While we're waiting for my presentation, allow me to introduce myself. So my name is Wilasini Punutapai. I'm working with GIZ, the German International Corporation, Bangkok office. And currently I'm taking care for we call the SCP outreach in Asia, the next 5, which of course is funded by the German Federal Ministry for Environment, Nuclear Nation Conservation, and also nuclear safety, or in short BMU, of course. Thank you very much. Next slide. So the project is normally a regional project covering 5 countries: Cambodia, Laos, PDR, Myanmar, Vietnam, and Bhutan. And our main implementing partner is Pollution Control Department, PCD, from Thailand, because we do see that the Thai government, PCD, they are very advanced in terms of implementing GPP and also labeling in Thailand for many years. So their experiences can be transferred to support our neighboring country to achieve their national agenda, of course. Not only PCD that we do see that they can share experience and knowledge, but also with other advanced countries like Japan, South Korea, and maybe from European countries. The project duration will cover 4 years, starting this year on March. Unfortunately, that when we signed the contract with the German government, we has been hit by coronavirus, and it's caused us a big delay of the activity implementation. And the project will be ended on 2024. Let's see that how we can negotiate with the German government, because we caused a problem with coronavirus. Next slide. I think this one, no doubt, I think many speakers already mentioned that who working on the GPP or labeling, we are serving the SCP SDG agenda, especially for number 12, and for us is number 12.7, because we do see that GPP or Green Public Procurement is a powerful instrument, and it's a consumption-based instrument to demand the production. And also we do see that GPP is the incentive mechanism for to drive the production or producer to access to such a big market of the government consumption. Next slide. So that's why we receive the fund from German government to implement and to introduce GPP and labeling to I think it's throughout the ASEAN, but of course that for the previous project that we call Advanced SCP, we started with Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Philippines. And after a few years, I think 3 or 4 years, we gained quite a number of achievements. And this year, I think it's the right time to expand our effort to other neighboring countries like Myanmar, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, and also Bhutan. Normally, the overall objective of this project is to contribute to the reduction of the greenhouse gas emission by developing or establishing the policy instruments and also framework of the SCP, and particularly on green public procurement and also labeling and other instruments like incentive or consumer information to have or to contribute to a better informed purchasing decision for the consumer. And to achieve that, we design the activities in 4 main areas. So the first one, so-called improving legal and institutional framework for GPP and labeling implementation. For example, we might support some country to draft or to revise the legal document in order to support GPP implementation. And this also including institutional capacity development, because in this 4-5 area, SCP and even GPP is very new for them. They has no clue what we are talking about. For example, if we are talking about SCP, most of them thinking about waste management, plastic reduction, or maybe wastewater treatment. Not many people thinking about GPP or how labeling can also contribute to the better production and consumption. That's so why in this way, we would like to have a kind of the capacity or institutional capacity development as well. It could be training, it could be sharing experiences from the other country. The second component or area of working will be establishing or improving the sustainable public procurement. For example, we might help some countries to develop the guideline in case that they already have the SCP strategy, including training for procurer, training for producer, for example. The third activity focus on establishing or improving labeling, and of course it could be Taiwan. But anyway, from our understanding in this region, like Laos, Cambodia, their capacity in terms of certification facility is still low. We have to discuss with the country whether shall we start with Taiwan, or maybe we can look at another option, like prepare the readiness in the next few years first, and then maybe after like 5 or 10 years, they can think about Taiwan labeling. And the fourth element or area, as we are the regional project, and of course we cooperate with Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, and Thailand, then we would like to support the regional collaboration by having mutual recognition agreement, maybe Laos with Thailand, or maybe Cambodia with Vietnam together, in order to support the what you call the regional networking, or thinking about having the common core criteria together. And another area that we might focus on, and also it would be one indicator that we committed to German government, is support some country to become the GEN member. So I know that Vietnam tried once, I think last year or few years ago, that become the GEN member, but they failed. Now it's time that project shall help them to improve their quality and access to the Genesis again in the next few years. Next slide. Next slide, please. Okay. So before we identify what is could be the core or the focus of each country, because we cannot do like one fit to all. Each country have their own need and interest. So that's why this year we are conducting, we call the analysis study, to understand the status quo of GPP and labeling in 5 countries, And by conducting this, we got the support from TI. Dr. Wijarn is here, I think, the previous speaker, who helped us to conduct the study. And this one, I would like to say that this still the draft finding, because we still need to conduct the stakeholder analysis, a stakeholder consultation in the country in order to validate whether the report, the information contained in the report is correct or it's valid or not before we publish in the website or make it for other or outsider. So let's say that normally when we conduct the analysis, we divide the area in 4 or 5 areas. The first one, we want to understand the legal framework, the strategy, and also the capacity and labeling. Whether they have this kind of thing in the country or not, where the project can start from that point, not start from zero. So in short, let's say for Cambodia, for sure they don't have SCP strategy, but at least they have green growth policy or roadmap that address some green, green activity, but not really like green public procurement or labeling. They don't have SCP roadmap for sure. Luckily, they just had the SCP technical working group last 2 months ago, where which consisting of more than, I think, 10 agencies that working on SCP. I think this one, that project can start, build capacity of that technical working group, and then try to influence the implementation of GPP and labeling in that working group. They don't have rule regulation, they don't have guidelines, and they don't have labeling type 1. From our market analysis, we found that, and of course for the sector analysis, the analysis come from the data of export, import, and production capacity and trend, not the environmental assessment yet. From the data we gather currently is foreseen that for Cambodia, it would be garment, footwear, and animal hides. For Laos, yeah, again, similar to Cambodia, no SCP strategy, no road, but anyway, roadmap is being developed, which supported by EU Sweet Asia, but I'm not so sure how long it will be finished for the roadmap development. For the coordination structure, they don't have, but at least they have Ministry of Planning and Investment, or MPI in short, as a policy coordination and coordination with other ministry who working on the SCP activity. Interestingly, for Laos, previously we thought that Laos doesn't have anything, but after analysis, we found that basically Laos has already procurement law, section number 4, article number 3, that asking the procurer to consider environmental product and services. I think that is quite very surprising for us, that we never heard before that Laos has already law in place. Then for Laos, we can start working on that, developing or helping them to develop the manual or guideline for procurer. But of course, it's that law is no enforcement yet, and it's like not mandatory as you guys from the advanced country are doing. It's just voluntary. They don't have GPP guideline, they don't have a labeling, and for the potential sector, it would be textile wood product. For example, that the project can start to introduce the criteria and labeling. For Myanmar, it's zero again, nothing in place. And for the sector, it would be textile and construction material and also machines. For Vietnam, they don't have the SCP strategy as far as I know, but they have the roadmap. This because they got the support from EU Sweet Asia to help MOIT to develop the roadmap strategy, but I'm not so sure about the the enforcement or the implementation of the roadmap. They have MPI again, Ministry of Planning and Investment, as coordination body, the policy umbrella arching They don't have rule and regulation, not yet, but they at least they have the GPP guideline, but no enforcement. And among the 5 countries, Vietnam is the most advanced one that already have the Ecolabelling type 1, which also owned by Monterey Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment. And then we would like to encourage or working with Monterey more in order to expand more a number of products and services, and also capacity building in terms of certification system. For the potential sector,
just 1 more minute. Thank you.
Sector would be machinery and textile or electrical machinery. For Bhutan, nothing except they have the GPP guideline. This is because again supported by EU Sweet Asia, but there is no implementation. It's just a guideline in place. For the product or potential sector, it would be mineral and construction material. That's all. Next slide, it will be my last slide. It's about challenges we found. Please go to the next slide. After 5-6 months that we have the meeting with the government over there, the lead partner, we found that the most challenges is mean that, please go to the next slide, my last slide. I think they still have low capacity either in terms of a legal framework, a policy backup, and also capacity of the institutional structure. Like even we talk with Monterey or Ministry of Environment, they has very less knowledge regarding GPP and labeling. For example, that they even doesn't know that labeling has 3 types of labeling. So when we talk about Taiwan, they has no clue that what is requirement for Taiwan, Type 2 or Type 3. So that's why I think in terms of knowledge on SCP still low, and the project should spend the first year to provide the basic understanding on SCP and particularly GPP and eco-labeling. And also they has no coordination mechanism because GPP or even SCP or labeling is a cost-cutting issue. You have to work with solo agency. So if you don't have the coordination mechanism or instrument to work together with, then it's very hard to start. Monterey or Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment alone cannot move things forward easily. They have to involve Ministry of Finance. They have to involve Ministry of Industry. So that's why I think it's still a long way to go with these 5 countries. I know that my presentation is quite really different from the other speaker where they share most of the best practices around various countries. But at least I want us to know, or you to know that in some countries in Asia, we are going to start implementing GPP and labeling. And we do hope that in the next few years, these 5 countries can gain the support from all you guys here in order to help them to move forward and achieve their national agenda. Hopefully we can see all of you again, maybe next year. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wilasini Punachapa. And apologies, I didn't introduce you properly. I was so worried about getting your slides up. So that is my fault. Apologies. And GIZ does amazing work. We've just got 5 minutes we've got 3 quick questions. And I'll start with you, Wilasini, while we have you. There's a comment or a question to GIZ. What aspect of synergy effect between eco-labeling and public procurement for your research? How about the green purchasing network in the 5 countries of your research?
Since you seeing my table that in 5 countries, they don't have any green public procurement in place yet, and even eco-labeling. Of course, they have some ad hoc project that working on labeling, but most of them working on agricultural, like promoting organic farming, or hotel sector, like having the green hotel. So my difficulty currently linking between GPP and labeling together. So it's very difficult. Yeah. Yes. It's very difficult to make a link in these 5 countries.
Yes.
Yeah.
And is there work with the IGPN that may also be the reference? So with the Green Purchasing Network?
Yeah, hopefully,
Yes.
but I think we have to encourage what you call provide them the awareness and understanding about GPP. That's how the government can have this kind of instrument to drive the production. For example, they still have some doubt. I think the first year we have to deal or handling with the doubt from the government. For example, as most of you already know, the price of the what you call the labeling, the clean product and services very high. And if the government put the GPP guideline in the TOR, then how about this would be create the unfair system or transparency. This is the second that we gain from 5 countries. And most of the product that the government procure currently is an imported product from Thailand. So meaning that if they put the green product in the list, it increase the product flow from Thailand, from China to Laos, and then the what you call the opportunity for local producer to access to the government, the consumption will be decreased because the local producer not able or not capable to comply to the green procurement. So I think it's still really difficult. So that's why the project should talk to the country how we can stay the focus on either start with the GPP first or start with the labeling first. But it's really difficult currently to link together in these 2 aspects in those 5 countries.
Thank you. And we have a quick question for Dr. Simachaya as to whether you receive government funding. So perhaps you could just unmute and let us know.
Yes, I already respond. Actually, we got the support from the government sector in early stage, but right now we have the fund from the certification.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Simachaya. Do we have time for one more, or is it time to perhaps Hiro-san, if you could answer, there was one question around, will GPP in Japan move towards verification of standards for green taxonomy? If you could answer that in the chat for everyone, that would be great. And I'd like to thank you all, the panelists in this session, for a really rich and amazing wealth of information and examples that's happening, and a great precedent for many on today. So a big thank you. And now I would like to welcome the chair of Global Ecolabelling Network, Mr. Lon, to make some closing remarks for us.
Thank you, Kate, and thank you to all the participants during this webinar. It has been shown that we have had a very ambitious agenda when time is running out, and the importance of doing all these presentations is stressed by that. Thank you for all the good examples from Asia, and then we see that these experiences that have been gained during the years in Korea, Japan, Thailand, and so on will all be benefit for the next 5 project that is run by GIZ in the last presentation. I have been following the chat, and there we also have European and global and American perspectives on the issue. And congratulations to Slovenia, for those in Asia who are not so very well known in European geography. Slovenia is a small country neighboring Italy, and for the GPP legislation in Slovenia. The global perspective has been brought up in the chat with the discussions of the World Trade Organizations and the trade regulations on using eco-labeling. I will for sure read the news, the newest reports from WTO, but I also want to point out that it was 20 years ago, around 2000, that I had the pleasure to present Type 1 eco-labeling at meetings in WTO, and I know that Canada was very active also on this issue. And what we find out, or the conclusion from that, was that eco-label Type 1 is a legal barrier to trade, and not an unlegal, and that is based on the fact that we have the life cycle perspective in the criteria, the requirements. We have a third-party certification, and that the application, the programs are open for all, for anyone, independent on from which country the applicant is sending the application. These perspectives have, I think, is still there. What naturally, I understand that the question of how this is implemented, eco-labeling, into public procurement is something that can be discussed in the WTO and is for sure discussed. But the perspective of having an acceptance of eco-labeling Type 1 was something that also was included in the DOA final statements, as far as I've learned from that time. Saying that, I thank you once again, everyone, for taking part. We have been more than, at the most, close to 100. We had more participants that had registered, but I think the word has got closer on this issue during this webinar, and we will publish it on the GEN website after editing the recording in mid-September. And by that, stay safe all over the world, and hope to see you face to face in the future on the same issues covered here. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you so much for the chair and every expert and all participants. I would like to say it's a very excellent webinar, especially for the experts experienced and good skills and very excellent presentation. I also would like to thank you all the participants also for your good questions. And especially I would like to thank Linda Chatfield for your very strong technical support and very kind help. Thank you so much.